So it's about 9 days after I've made up this arrangement with this colony. This is going to form my starter colony for my queen cells. So now I just want to arrange it now to set up my queenless colony. And what we're going to do is, so this colony, I kind of want a colony that's good and strong and on the brink of kind of swarming. So the lower part of this box is queen right. There's a queen excluder then between this box and the top box, where we transferred the majority of cap brood from here and also cap brood from another colony. So over the last 9 days or so this has been hatching, and any uncapped brood should be basically at the point of almost being fully capped now. I also put in a frame of foundation here, so we're going to just make some rearrangements in terms of the frame layout before we take the box off, and just make sure as well that there are no queen cells up here. So I don't know what form these bees are going to be in today, but hopefully they will be in good humour. So that's just a frame of stores. I'm happy to leave this in here. This is the frame of foundation that I put in, and you will see that the bees have drawn it out, but they haven't really started storing. Well, on this side actually they have, so they've stored up this side here. There's nectar there, but I'm not going to be leaving this frame with the colony, so I'm just going to take it out for now. I'm not going to shake the bees off it just for the minute. I don't really want to upset the bees too much, because the whole idea is that we try to transfer as many bees as possible to this colony. Now you can see our capped brood is here. This is our first in a frame of cap brood. It has been hatching. We have some drones on the frame as well, which is great. That's kind of what we want. Here's a drone. And these bees are relatively calm. There's some pollen in the frames and a bit of backfilling going on. Not a huge amount though. Plenty of young bee as well. So that's kind of what we want. Now the only thing I don't really have up in this box at the moment is a frame of pollen, and I know where I can get one of those if needs be, but I'm hoping that I can pull one from the box below, just to switch out, perhaps put in the frame of foundation in its stead. Now this is a full comb, or was a full comb of capped brood with some drone down towards the bottom. So again, I have no problem with drone cells. Now we have a queen cup here, but it doesn't look like there's anything in it. Plenty of backfilling going on here in this section, so that's not too bad. This is a queen cup down at the bottom. It's sort of in preparation for swarm. Because between the two boxes they would be getting quite full now, and the bees will be recognizing that they're running out of space if they're to remain in this configuration much longer. Now I'm just going to give them a little puff of smoke. We just want to keep them, it's not too much, but we want to just keep them calm. There's a few of the flying bees, it's quite kind of late in the evening now, so a few of the flying bees are back, the older bees, and they're the ones from their foraging, their day of foraging, and it's them that kind of cause the problem when it comes to getting stings. So again, another lovely frame of capped brood here, and there's backfilling going on where it has hatched. Now I'm not seeing, so far anyway, no queen cells, so this is ideal. Now the majority of resources, especially pollen and that, might be going into the box below because that's where the queen is laying, and so the pollen will be needed there. So the bees are not really storing pollen. The only pollen that's here is pollen that was already in these combs at the time that we put them in, maybe with some backfilling going on. Okay, and again we just have a lot of, just check this, it looks like a drone cell, but you never know. Sometimes emergency queen cells can be concealed in that way. So far not seeing any queen cells, so this is great, and there is no uncapped brood. So you'll note I'm not using too much smoke, and I'm kind of more or less blowing it over the tops of the frames just to keep the bees sort of down. Tomorrow these bees, this queenless part of it, will be testy for sure. So again, some drone brood, and capped worker brood, and so what we're going to be having here is young bee hatching all the time for the next week or so, and that is ideal when it comes to rearing good queen cells. But also you'll see the way what I do moving this box, so there will be a flow coming in here also. Remnants of a frame of capped brood, and same on that side with backfilling, some pollen. So I need to take out 2 frames out of this colony, because what I will be doing is putting in a frame of foundation. Now, a bee got pinched there somewhere, and you can see these bees are getting upset. So we want to release the bee that is pinched wherever she is. I can withdraw the frame and give them a little puff of smoke. That'll just keep them down. So that could, the way they're reacting now could be an indication that there is a queen cell on the next frame. They get very protective of queen cells. So we just want to hunt them down now. Again, another little puff of smoke. Everything just done calmly. You know, this isn't a commercial operation that we're under pressure for time. We just want to do things gently and in as much as possible try to avoid the bees getting upset and getting stung. And you know, getting stung is something that happens from time to time. There's usually an explanation for it, and it's usually down to how the beekeeper is handling his bees, in my opinion. And obviously there are, you know, operations that, you know, the bees need to be handled in a sort of a positive way, shall we say, you know, not necessarily aggressive, but in a positive way, where you just have to get the job done. But for queen rearing purposes, for sure, gentleness, and if you can practice that at this stage before you have your grafts in, it helps, you know. So I can see there in the next frame we have no queen cells. So there was a frame of stores there. We have enough stores across the tops of the majority of frames. And that frame of stores that's there is pretty much a solid frame of a solid frame of ivy stores, really. So I might take it out now. And I also have to find a frame of pollen, so I want to put in a frame of foundation. I need to find a frame of pollen and my graft frame. So but there are no queen cells here in this colony. So that's all fairly positive there. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to move the combs yet. I have that frame out there, and we will just see what we can do when we go looking in the box below. So for now I just want to, I need to make sure my smoker is, yeah, okay, yeah. So, we move this colony over to one side for a moment. Now we've nothing sensitive in here, there are no queen cells, grafts yet, you know, so if we bump the colony, that's okay. At this stage, we just lie down on the roof there, and now this is our queen right side of the colony. Now this is going to be moved to a new location, and so all the flying bees from the colony are still going to arrive back into my queenless colony side, and so essentially that's going to create the element of a flow still coming into the colony, into my queen rearing colony. And I can do this, you know, multiple times. I just keep switching the two locations essentially. So I want to check down here first of all, just to make sure that all's good with our queen before we move them off. So you'll remember we put in a load of comb, drawn comb basically, and the idea being that our queen will start laying up in these frames. So our original colony now is ready for moving to its new location. So I'll just leave that frame stores there for a moment. And then we'll arrange our old box. Now I'm going to put the queen excluder back on this colony because my plan is now to put the supers on. Got an eye full of smoke there. And we have our foil and lid back on, and then we move this to an empty space over there, and I turn the entrance around just so that the bees are fully aware that the location is different. Now I plant a new floor here. And already you can hear the buzz in the air. And we'll just leave this comb here for a moment. And I know it's not ideal to be leaving comb on the ground. That's just what happens sometimes. So now we have our box in place, and I like to put the graft frame somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to put the graft frame in tonight, and the bees can work on cleaning it up. And just so I can show you my graft frame. My graft frame is the JZBZ cups. I do have the Nico system as well, but I've actually taken to using these JZBZ cups, and I prefer them over the Nico system. Just it's one cup and a little peg to put it into the bar. I do, because these are wooden bars, they expand, you know, as you press them in a couple of times. So I do put a little bit of wax then in the groove just to hold the cups in place. So I'm putting my graft frame, I have it marked with a G, that's it, but it's fairly obvious to me, it's different from all my other frames, that it is my graft frame. And I'm just going to slide these frames over then, and I can drop my foundation frames either side, or not my foundation frame, sorry, my pollen frames. And just one last check to make sure I don't have a queen on this frame. And I don't see her. I'm just going to break off this bit of excess comb here at the bottom. Because this will only just come in contact with the floor in the particular setup I'm using here. So tomorrow I will put a super on the original colony. So this frame of pollen goes right up to the graft frame, and move this graft frame over one, so it's not quite in the middle of the box, but it's almost. Now we check this one as well, just to make sure no queen. And I'll choose the side with the most pollen on it. Pollen is different to nectar because the bees will move nectar to where it's needed, but they won't move the pollen. So, you know, it doesn't really matter. Once there's a flow on, it doesn't really matter that you don't have a frame of stores right next to the queen cells. It does make it easier for the bees perhaps, but in the grand scheme of things, it's more than okay that there's nectar in the box and you have nectar coming in. So that's where I have my flying bees come in, and the box crams up with bees from all the flying bees coming in. It's the young bees that do the kind of the work with the queen cells, but yeah, I think I'll use this side. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. At a push I can get 12 frames in these boxes, but that does mean that it's difficult to pull in and out frames, so I don't really want to make it overly difficult, but we'll see here now, because I do want to get a frame of foundation in. Having a frame of foundation in the colony it sort of prevents the bees from building too much sort of brace comb on your queen cells, which can happen. No, I'm not going to get so we can, when say on checking grafts, we can then pull in, once we've got an acceptance rate, then we can fill a frame foundation. The bees won't kind of build the brace comb on the grafts just as they're drawing queen cells. It's more when they get to the stage of being capped, so we can put our frame foundation in then. Now I'm going to put my clear cover on, because that'll just help me. This is for the Paradise Honey box, but it helps to kind of see what the level of activity is going on in the box without having to actually take the lid off and do too much kind of disturbing. Now these bees will be very upset tonight, because they will feel that they are almost hopelessly queenless. We do have, as we know, eggs in there, which kind of makes it not 100% hopelessly queenless, but once we do the grafts tomorrow and check to make sure no emergency cells are being drawn, the bees will hopefully focus on the cells. But again, we can do a double check. We know that the two frames either side of the graft frame are the ones that have eggs, so it's not that difficult. I'm not going through the rest of the colony. Everything else is capped, and there are no queen cells or any sign of a queen cell starting throughout the rest of the colony. And as you can see here, all our flying bees are coming in now. And my smoker's kind of, but they're all returning in. And tomorrow this box will be jammed with bees, because all the flying bees that leave the mother colony, shall we say, they're going to just return to this location. And as these bees were already, formed part of the colony, they're not going to actually notice anything different. So they're going to come in, and the only thing that they're going to notice different when they arrive in then is that the colony is actually queenless. We have plenty of pollen coming in, and we have nectar coming in because there is a flow on. So now is a good time to start the queen rearing process. So graft day tomorrow. Well folks, I hope you enjoyed that. that's just my way of making up a queenless colony. It's kind of a two-stage process really. So the first stage is to kind of almost kind of like do a demarré split, except you're putting the second brood chamber directly on top of the original brood chamber. So they're in close proximity, so ideally no queen cells will be drawn, or emergency cells will be drawn in the upper box, you know, in the few days that you're leaving the two boxes together. And then in or around 9 days after, so any you know, young brood or larvae, eggs or whatever that is in the upper box, they should be at the stage where they are either capped or being capped at the time when you come to remove the upper box and separate the two boxes to create the queenless element. So now I have my queenless colony, and you know, all the flying bees are returning home to this box, and so this box is going to be jammed tomorrow when I come to actually do my grafts. I have 2 breeder queens that I want to raise off this time round. So I have 2 different coloured cups. You probably noticed that in the video, but I might just click it back here so that you can see. I have 2 different coloured cups. Essentially that's just going to indicate to me which queen I grafted off for that particular bar. So the hope is 24 cells to be grafted, 12 from each. Being the first graft, it's unlikely to be 100% take, but with fingers crossed, it might just be 100% take, and we can then just cull out whatever doesn't look the best when it comes to actually transferring the cells then into their mating nukes. Now, I'm going to do the graft as a separate video, so you know, if you want to keep up to date with that, just like and subscribe and hit the notification bell and so on, and you can follow the progress. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the small scale queen rearing in relation to the double brooding of some of the nukes that I did, because at this stage I'm getting to graft my queen cells earlier than I thought I was going to, and so I might just transfer these queen cells then directly into those splits. It does mean that I'm going to have to wait another 10 days or so before I can actually split them, but and they are sort of they're expanding rapidly now, and they're almost running out of space as what to have, so really the splits do need to come off now, but I'll judge that tomorrow. Okay, so thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one, which is going to be a grafting video hopefully.